Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Bookmark. My name is Kayla, and today we're going to be doing a book review on Book Lovers by Emily Henry. This book was actually lent to us by our friend Abby. She has an Instagram book account where it's just her reading books. She does a lot of annotations, and she does a lot of books that are kind of in this realm of like contemporary romance, and we will have her Instagram account in our description below. You can go check that out after you finish this video. But yes, we are going to be reviewing Book Lovers by Emily Henry. So this book, the funny story about this is that I actually did purchase this book, and then I was reading it like at the beginning of June. And then as I was reading it, I was somewhere and I like set down the book, and when I came back to pick up my book, I remember I put it with like other people's stuff that like I knew at that event. And when I came back to like pick up my stuff, and because we were already starting to leave and get ready to leave, it turns out someone actually took the book. Like someone actually stole this book from me, which is crazy because I've never encountered that before. But yeah, I don't know if it's because this book like is really popular in my area or like people really want it, but I mean, it's not hard to get here in my hometown. Like I always see it stocked at Target and whatnot, and probably at Walmart too, I think. But it's not like a hard book to find. But that's just like there's like a really funny thing that had happened. But what I will say is that this book, I only had read it was like at the very beginning. I had only read the like before like the foreword. I don't even know if it's considered a foreword, but it was basically just like the very first few pages of this book, which is like kind of an introduction to the main story, which is taking place about 2 years after that like little excerpt at the beginning. And you immediately like can kind of see a little bit about the main character. Her name is Nora Stevens. She is an agent for book publishing. So her job is pretty cool, and it talks a lot about it in the book about how she's basically the person who helps her clients get their books published. So she's the one that like is the middleman to getting her authors published through like a publishing house. And then like works with editors and everything like that to get her clients' books published. So that's like what's pretty cool about this book, is that there's like a different aspect of like the book publishing world, and you kind of get to see a little bit about that too. Because the other character in this book, his name is Charlie Lastra, which is the like love interest in the book, and he is an editor that ends up working with Nora's author, and it's pretty cool. Like, so the excerpt at the beginning is them two, and they like really don't hit it off at all, but it's not like well, it's kind of like an enemies to lovers type of thing that's going on in this book. But at the beginning, it's more that like they just met once, and it was more a professional thing, and then like they didn't meet for 2 years, and then somehow they ended up meeting again, which is pretty cool. I think what's like super interesting about this book is that she's actually motivated by the fact that her author, like her longtime client author, is actually starting a new book that has Nora. It's a person, like it's a character inspired by Nora, who's named Nadine Winters, and it's basically like showing as if Nadine Winters is like a very heartless woman, and she doesn't really see like a family, or doesn't really like connect in like relationships, and she's very much about work, which Nora feels like is like a jab at her, even though she feels like she cares a lot about the people around her, especially her sister Libby and Libby's family. But I think it's pretty cool because she constantly uses Nadine as like a reason to not be like Nadine, and she's kind of trying to break out of her shell. But what's funny is that like it's like Nadine is more like what people see of her from the outside, but she's not really like Nadine, even though she's trying to so hard not to be like that. So I think what we see in this book, even though it's like technically like a contemporary romance, we also see a lot of like personal growth from the characters, which I think was a nice thing, a nice part of the plot that's added to it, because it's not only like we weren't just seeing about like the relationship between the two or whatever, and then like maybe someone, like one of the two characters in this relation or in this pairing has like a bad home or whatever, or they have a bad relationship with their family, which we do see some of that, but we see it on both sides, how like the types of relationships that they have with the people in their town and like with their family. But I think it's also pretty cool to see. We don't really see too much from Charlie as far as like personal growth and what he goes through and whatnot, but we do see it from Nora. Oh my gosh, I almost called her Nadine, but from Nora. We see it from Nora most, and we see how some things from her past influence the way she interacts, especially with her sister Libby, and essentially how she reacts in her daily life, like why she's such a go-getter, why she needs to focus on work and all of that, which I think is a really nice thing that it didn't, I guess because I personally don't really like romance novels that are just all about the romance. I really liked this one, and like I think I read this in like just 2 days, and when I gave the book back to my friend, she was just like, "You already done?" I'm like, yeah. Like it was super easy to read because it wasn't just like the whole lovey-dovey aspect of it. It was like you also saw the character's growth, which I thought was really cool. And then of course it made you like root for the character at the end. I'm not going to spoil too much about what happens at the end, but I typically hate the endings where everything works out and everything's like magically resolved somehow. But for this one, there's a lot of things that happen at that ending where you're just like, if for a second it looks like it's not gonna work out, and then it looks like it might, and then you're not too sure what's really gonna happen. But like I so badly was like reading those last few chapters just thinking, like, I just hope everything works out like a magic fairy tale or something. I don't know, because you really did feel like both Nadine and, oh my gosh, Nadine, both Nora and Charlie really deserved that. But it's really cool to see how that works out at the end, especially because you see the growth of Nora's character throughout the book. And it really did feel like, even though this is categorized as a contemporary romance and like the whole thing is like based on this romantic relationship, I really do think that this book is also a lot about Nora's personal growth as a person, and like how she figures out like relationships and like her relationships to people, as far as like not being too like needing to feel too controlling of that relationship, or needing to fix everything or be like a problem solver of everything. So I think that's a really cool, I think that's why I really like this book, is because there's that added aspect of it. I will say that this book, it's pretty easy to start reading, so if you're in a book slump, this is one of those books where it's like you can easily get into it and you like want to keep reading books. Like it's not difficult at all. There are some times where you have to reread the jokes that they're making, because sometimes it's like very punny and you're just like, okay, like you need to catch up to understand what's going on sometimes. But other than that, it's a pretty easy read. Like there's nothing difficult. I'll also say there's not really anything like no very triggering topics that are talked about in the book. It does involve a death of a parent, and that's like a main theme throughout the book, but not anything else other than that. So I will say I am kind of excited to read other like books by Emily Henry. I have heard that this one is probably her like most like the types of book that if you're not like into contemporary romance novels, then this is the one you would like compared to the others. But I will like to read the others, so let us know which other books from Emily Henry that you guys also liked. I know that there is a beach read that a lot of people really recommend as well. And then there's also People We Meet on Vacation, but I have heard People We Meet on Vacation is more like the typical like Insta romance, and like it's a whole like fling over a summer or like over a vacation period, and then those like type of novels I'm kind of just like, ugh. I think you guys know how I feel about Insta loves, but yes. But yeah, that's all we have for today, so let us know what books we should read in the comments below, especially if you want us to review more Emily Henry books. And also don't forget to follow us on Instagram, where we post pretty much every single day, something daily on there, about the books that we are currently reading and the books that we are thinking of reading, and any of our book hauls are on there as well too. Thank y'all. Bye.